So, first things first, the best marketing advice I ever received, and I pass it on to everybody, is just to do some marketing every day. Now, this does not include just chucking stuff out onto social media, because that's easy and has typically a nominal impact. And the the marketing that you should be doing should be guided, directed, and aimed at some strategic or at least a tactical result. And it's always a good idea to have some kind of marketing plan. Very few businesses, particularly small, but very few small businesses have any kind of marketing plan. They don't plan out their marketing. They don't schedule campaigns. They literally just throw stuff out in the hope that it's going to work. A lot of the time, they don't even look at statistics like Google Analytics, for example, on their website, or if they're sending out emails, don't look at who's responded and what kind of response they're getting. They just keep putting output, output, output. And that is a mistake. And so I'm a big fan of marketing every day. I used to have until the end of 2020, I had a very successful marketing agency, award-winning marketing agency. And when we got to doing marketing every day and properly started organizing it, we doubled our sales in less than a year by simply being a lot more focused and a lot more organized with our marketing. So first big tip, do some marketing every day, but make sure it's organized, directed, and scheduled. Now, the fundamentals of marketing boil down to three key things. It's the ABCs. First of all, who are you selling to? And in my experience, having worked with, I don't know how many hundreds of small businesses over the last 20 years, only a small minority, I would say fewer than 10%, fully understand who they're selling to, and I'm going to come on to that. The next one is the B, the boast, brag. What are you saying to this audience? Because once you understand your audience, who they are, where they are, what their issues are, what you bring to the table and how you can help them, what you're going to say to them is logical. It's the next logical step. And the last one is channels. And this is where people tend to fall down because they sort out their channels first without fully understand who they're selling to and knowing enough about their audience. So they'll get a website, they'll get some social media, get some business cards done, some banners maybe, start going to events without fully understand who they're selling to and what they need to be saying to them. And it's so common. And it's common to be, it's just common, crazy common. So hopefully within the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through these and give you some ideas on why they're important. So in my view, all marketing starts with your A, your audience. Who are you selling to? And you need to break these down into categories. Now, Christiana, you've got two types of audiences. You've got consumers, women, professional women, and you've also got corporates. So you are going to have two different demographics to work with, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having more than one audience. You just have to understand that marketing to one type of audience is going to be different to the other. So you're doing B2C with your mums, and you're doing B2B, business to business, with your corporates. And the language and the messaging that I'll come on to are going to be quite different. So you break this audience down into these various demographics that I've got written down here: age, location, type of person, gender, size, type of business, if you're selling to corporates, life stage. For example, it's very challenging trying to sell pensions to people who are just out of school. It's not even on their radar. Religion is a big deal in some areas of the world. Ethnicity, what problems they have, what stresses and frustrations, desires and wants they have. And the more you can understand this, the easier your marketing becomes. And so, Christiana, you understand the issues that your mums have with developing good relationships with their kids and also bringing up, healthy, wholesome children as well. Excuse me. So you understand some of these frustrations, and that's brilliant. That's a perfect way to be. The same thing with the businesses that you sell to. You'll understand what it is they're looking for. What are they trying to achieve? What are their challenges? We're trying to find somebody who can do what you do it effectively, and not give them any hassles, but get the desired results. And this is where, in my view, as I said early on, many businesses fall over because they don't go deep enough into this. Because once you understand these guys, you'll understand the issues that you're going to be able to solve for them, or the benefits that you're going to bring to them through your products and services. So it's worth spending a fair bit of time on this. Now, the B, the boast or the brag, is what you're going to say to them. Now, one of the things that comes out of knowing your audience is understanding what problems you solve. What benefit are you bringing to your audience? People don't buy stuff because it's handy to have. They buy something because it's beneficial in some way, shape, or form. It's going to help make their life easier, bring some benefit, take away stress, take away pain, or in some way make things better for them. And that's the bit that you need to be selling. And so, for example, people like having the latest smartphones, for example, the latest iPhone. Is it any better than the last one? Not really. It's a phone, makes text, does social media, has a camera on it. But a lot of people buy the latest because they want to feel. Then that's the feeling. They want to feel like they're up to date. They want to feel like the coolest person in the room, that I've got the latest thing. But people buy the latest technology because they want to feel like they're up to date, etc. Now, Apple know this very well, and so they'll focus on the aesthetics. They'll focus on good-looking people holding these phones. You don't see average-looking people in any advertising, which is indicative that there's an aspiration here. So when it comes to what you're saying to people, you need to focus on what it is that you're bringing, how you're going to make my life better. As a good example, I did an exercise a number of years ago with a cosmetic dentist, and he was very big on teeth whitening and teeth straightening. Now, people didn't buy teeth whitening just because it was teeth whitening. They bought teeth whitening because they wanted to have a brilliant, clean smile that they could feel good about. So when they smiled, they felt good because they knew that their teeth were bright and clean and white. And it was as much of a vanity thing, I hate to say it was a vanity thing, but the advertising that we set up for him was effectively, the slogan was, look good and feel great. It wasn't about the teeth whitening. The teeth whitening was a means to an end. The end result is that you're going to look good and you're going to feel great. And that sold incredibly well. I should have gone on a commission because I think it's £400 worth of advertising brought in £14,000 worth of new business. And I swear, I didn't charge him a great deal for the ad. I should have charged him a lot more, but that's fine. But it worked because we sold into what people were looking for, not just the teeth whitening, but the benefits of the teeth whitening. People buy the benefits. In what way are you making my life better? And again, if you understand your audience and what issues that you're helping them with, this becomes almost quite logical. And oftentimes, especially when selling to consumers, you're selling to an emotion, you're selling to a feeling. When you're selling to a business, you're selling a business benefit. Ultimately, businesses are there to make money. If you can tap into that, I'm going to make your business X times more efficient, or I can help you bring X more customers, etc. Or I can help cut your costs and stuff like this. That's why people buy business services. You're making their business better in some way, shape, or form. And same thing with people. You are making their life better in some way, shape, or form. But they will buy that betterment. They will buy that improvement in how it makes them feel. And it all boils down to this: what's in it for me? What do I get out of this relationship? What you'll find if you go to a lot of business events, people will talk about what they do. And this is very common in the networking world, or people will talk about what they do, but they won't necessarily talk about the benefits that they bring to their customers. So the key selling feature is, don't just tell me what you do, tell me what it's going to do for me. And you will almost instantly stand out in your competition. Most people talk about the product or service, not about the results that they bring. Now, I remember one time being at a networking event, and a guy called Tom Simpson, who was a good friend of mine, he's an accountant and tax advisor, and he stood up in this group and he says, I've just won a new client and we've saved her more money in tax than she's paying us in fees. And if you want to save this kind of money in tax, come and talk to us. And it was brilliant because it didn't focus on the product, didn't focus on, we're a great tax advisor. He literally gave a specific example of where somebody had saved more money in tax than they were charging him in fees. There was a benefit to being with Tom as a tax advisor and accountant. So the key questions to ask are, what's in it for me as a potential customer? Why should I do business with you? What makes you different? There's plenty of people who do what you do in a lot of cases, maybe not so much you, Christiana, in Cyprus, but that there are other options here. Why should I choose you? How are you better? How are you going to make my life better? What's in it for me? And this, in my view, is where a lot of people fall apart when they get all their marketing together, they understand who they're selling to, they know what they're going to say, and they miss out this bit. So next time you go and look at a website, for example, on for almost any business, see if you can work out whether they're telling you what's in it for them, for you, if you were going to buy from them. Now, why should I buy from you? What's in it for me? And it's almost like you have to pass a so what test. We do this, we do this, and somebody might say, well, so what? But what you could say is, we do this, which means that you are going to get X, Y, and Z, and this is why it's good for you. And there's that link statement. This is what we do, which means that you are going to get this, and this. And this is why it's good for you. And a lot of marketing, and your marketing should always be this. Like I said, if you do enough of a deep dive into your audience and who you're selling to and what the issues are and what issues you are solving, helping with, this almost becomes self-explanatory. You are filling a gap in someone's life. You are making things better for them in some way, shape, or form. And all marketing should revolve around that. Whatever it is that you provide is a means to an end. So sell the end result. Does that make sense? I can't actually see you because I'm sharing
100%.
my screen.
Yes,
and
100%.
and that's the marketing fundamentals. Now here's the interesting thing. I've been in business for the last 20 years, serving businesses and also and business owners. And 80% of small businesses get one or more than one of these things completely and totally wrong. Like I said earlier on, a lot of people will start with their channels. They'll start with what it is, where they're putting their marketing, and they don't understand their audience. But it needs to be audience, Boast and broadcast, and then channels. And this is the stuff that you do. This is the methods you use to put your marketing, your message, your boast, your brag in front of your audience. Now, there are a few different ways of doing this. But when you understand your audience, you'll know where they hang out. You should know what kind of social media they use. So if you're trying to sell to people under the age of 25, 30 tops, TikTok would be an amazing place to spend a lot of time and do your marketing. If you sell to people who are above the age of 45, Facebook is still good. If you're trying to reach people who are active and visual, Instagram is a great place to be. If you're trying to reach professionals and business, LinkedIn. And those are just the social media. Your website should be a hub. You should always have a good website, which all of your social media should be pointing back to. You can go to events if you want to reach small businesses, for example. You can go to trade shows if you want to reach slightly bigger businesses. You could use telephone outreach if you just want a very, very direct sales approach. Email marketing is one of my essentials. I wouldn't want to be without it. So I send out a weekly email with some kind of business tip or marketing growth or business growth tip every single week, have done for years. And it gets a great response. I do a fair bit of social media. I use YouTube, and those are just the channels. But I pick the channels that are appropriate to my audience. So as a good example, I met a guy who was selling financial services in Auckland. And he was using TikTok, spending probably as much as 20 to 30 minutes a day on TikTok. And I asked him why he was doing it, considering the fact that most of his customers were over the ages of 45 years old, and nearly nobody over 45 uses TikTok. And he just said, well, I am trying to reach a younger audience. And I said, yeah, that's all well and good, but you could spend the next 10 years trying to reach this younger audience on TikTok, and nearly none of them will buy. Why aren't you spending more time and effort on Facebook? And, this is where older people tend to go. Ironically, younger people are leaving Facebook in droves. People over the age of 45 are going onto Facebook to keep in touch with friends and family all over the world. So it's a case of shifting demographics. He ended up giving up TikTok and spending more time on Facebook and advertising on Facebook, and that was far more successful. So, and that's a classic example of somebody who, quite frankly, doesn't understand his audience, but just goes with what he thinks is the coolest, latest, trendiest thing in the hope that it will work. Clearly hadn't thought through his audience. So have a think about this. When you understand your audience, you'll understand where they hang out and where you can reach them. And there are quite a few channels to choose from, and that is not an exhaustive list. We are going to be sharing this presentation, so you will get these slides if you want to take a look. Now, this isn't even up to date. It's a couple of years old now, but this is a list I put together a few years ago now for another presentation about the channels that you could potentially use to reach your target audience. There's absolutely loads, so you should never be short of ideas. Now, one of the things we are going to come on to with you, Christiana, is upsells, if you look on the right there, because that's what we're doing with you with that scaling products. But yes, plenty of channels to choose from. And here we have an explosion in a paint factory. In my view, and this is my view as a marketeer, considering how much marketing is done online, surprisingly, large numbers of people neglect their website. But in my view, your website should be the hub of all your activity. Simply because if it's done properly, it's the only online real estate that you actually own. The social media don't belong to you. The email marketing platform that you use doesn't belong to you. Google My Business doesn't belong to you. The podcast platform that you use doesn't belong to you. And Facebook and more recently LinkedIn are particularly good at moving the goalposts when it comes to reaching your target audience. And as a good example, I had a client in my hometown of Leicester in the UK who was relying on Facebook heavily to promote her beauty salon. And overnight, Facebook changed the algorithm to the point where her posts went from anywhere, she was getting anywhere up to a reach of 1,000 people. She'd got a few thousand people following her post. And that went down to 20, 25. Because what Facebook were doing, were trying to railroad all small businesses into spending money on advertising. So what they did, they encouraged every small business to get a Facebook business page, gave you great reach for 6 to 8 months, and then your reach absolutely plummeted, and the only way to get the same kind of reach was to spend money on advertising. LinkedIn have done the same thing. Encouraged everybody to get a business page. Initially, the reach was really good, and now the reach has absolutely plummeted, and they're pushing heavily the advertising model that they've got. And all they've done is taken a look at what Facebook did and what Facebook did to make themselves massively profitable, and done the same. So, and I understand it, I get it, but you have to take into account that the social media platforms are not owned by you, and many of the online platforms as well. So, as I said right early on, the key is to develop a plan. Work out what channels you're going to use. You don't need 15 different marketing channels. You only need a handful, and then get really good at them. And that can include paid advertising. That can include outreach. And that can include, for example, here in Fiji, I've just hired a sales guy to generate leads and sales for the business. That's a marketing and sales channel. So yes, that's the marketing system. And in my view, it all revolves around your website. And finally, look to improve always. Always check the stats, check the numbers, try and make things better, try and tweak. The aggregation of marginal gains. Dave Brailsford was the coach of the British Olympic cycling team, the most successful Olympic cycling team in history. And his big deal was not to make radical massive changes. His thing was just to make small changes across a wide variety of different areas, make 1% improvements in all aspects of the design, performance, clothing, the bike, etc., training, to the point where they were streets ahead of everybody else, quite literally in some cases. Um, the aggregation of marginal gains. It's the compound effect of micro changes over time. Um, and that is it.